my name is Benoit, and I am an alcoholic.
Hi, Mom.
I use a little bit of drugs too.
Yeah.
It's a part of my story. Um, Thank you for inviting me. And so my story is really simple. And I'm not French from France. I'm French Canadian. There's a huge difference. But sometimes people are confusing because my accent switch sometimes. I worked for 28 years for a company based in Paris. So my accent is sometimes French Canadian, sometimes it's mixed with Parisian. So you're going to have a mixture tonight. I was very lucky because both my parents were perfectly bilingual in an environment where it was unilingual French. We were the only family that was watching TV in English. So I always had an upstart on all my friends in school because by the time they were translating it for them in French, I had seen the same TV shows 2 years before and things like this. I was raised in a very unusual setting. My father didn't have a regular job. Everybody in the neighborhood was scratching their head to find out how we lived like this and how it was. We had bodyguards in the house most of the time, especially when my father was not there. Um, he was not working for the government. And that's how I was raised. My father one day said, "You don't need to go to school. I'll show you how to make money." From a very early age, I despised my father. I was the oldest of a large family. My father was beating everyone, including us, every time that he had frustration, and there was a lot of frustration in his life. Um, when he was 16 years old, he moved to Florida. He was there for 10 years. When I moved to the United States in 1996, I tried to find trace of his passage of 10 years in the United States. I can't find anything. It was incognito. When he came back to Montreal, he was in charge of an empire. Married my mother and back 5 kids. And I was the oldest, so I'm the first one that became his punching bag. And then after that, my brothers. At 15 years old, I came very close to killing him. Very, very close. That's part of my story. Could not stand that anymore. And I was the same size as I am today at 13 years old. So suddenly I woke up and I decided it was the end of that. At 13 years old was quite a marking year for me. I discovered alcohol, drugs, and women. It was quite a year. The fun kind of started this way because I will always remember the first time that I drank. And my uncle lived downstairs in the basement, and he had a bunch of bottles that were in the corner of his bedroom there. And my friends and I went with another empty bottles, and we took a little bit of everything in that same bottle. You should have seen the color that it turned out. We were so sick. But the effect that it made on me made me feel like the young man that I had always wanted to be. It's like if I lifted up the floor. Unbelievable. From there, I always had some privilege. And, you know, our house was also the place where all my friends and my brother's friends were congregating all the time. There was always so many people in this house, all the time. I don't remember one time that the doors were locked. There was constant traffic. They were coming to see my father. Our friends were coming to see us. So at 15 years old, I left the house. I had no choice. And I have been on my own since then. My father never stopped me. We had a serious disagreement when I was 5'15", and I found a job. I graduated from high school at 15. I was one of those kids when I came to register to the regular school. They took me to second grade right away because I had been in a school before that was private school and it was the equivalency. And then they made me do 6 and 7 together. When I came at 15, graduated on the market, and all of these things happening in my life, that was no good. I had nowhere to go, really. At 15, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I had to get out. And I began that way in life. Um, at 18 years old, I became the part owner of a nightclub in Montreal. At 18-year-old, you're an adult over there. So we could, three guys and myself, we could have a nightclub. What a beautiful thing for an alcoholic. Now you own the place where you drink. You own the place where you use and sell drugs. So people were telling me from a long time ago, Ben, you don't drink it normally. And they were using other terms also. I was always drinking in my environment. And I always had, my father really taught me how to camouflage money where you don't make it, that it's supposed to be shown. So I always had the job, but I always was at the club there. Sleeping for me was a secondary thing. Eating was secondary. It was much more important for me to drink and do a lot of drugs. By the time that I came for the first time in AA, I had my sinus rebuilt twice already, and I was 23 years old. The amount of cocaine I did for that period of time, for that short period of time, was amazing. So I'm always saying, I didn't come here because I didn't have anything to drink anymore. Didn't come here because I had no more drugs. I came here because I was going to die. It's really simple. And I was using all kind of other stuff, you know. And I'm a blackout guy. I knew I'm a Scotch drinker. I was a Scotch drinker. I knew when I was mixing Scotch, cocaine, and Quaaludes, I'm unplugging. It was conscious. I was going to have a blackout. When I came at 23 years old, my blackout was a week long. Still today, I have no idea what happened during that period of time. There's a judge somewhere who kind of reminded me bits of it, but that's all. I don't remember what happened. I came here and I stayed in this program for 9 months. I came to at least a meeting every day, sometimes 2 and 3 meetings a day. So it's not an insurance that you're showing up, but you never do the work. You know, this program is not free. I heard that so many times. You have to do the work. If you want to stay, if you want to change, if you want things to happen, you have to do the work. I was not ready to do that. And I was surrounding myself with people who were thinking alike. We're a bunch, you know. It's funny because now we were sober. I was back playing hockey and doing all kind of stuff with them, you know. Not changing anything. So anyway, 9 months later, went back out. It lasted 10 months. So I came here on the 4th of April, 1982, until the last tic-tac of the year on the 31st, when everybody does the countdown. I was at the place, I had a bottle of champagne in front of me, and I'm dressed in a penguin suit, and we're going to have fun. I'm tired of being unhappy, not drinking, because I didn't change anything. I was so unhappy. People were telling me, then you should drink. I was just dry. I was like, it's like if I had the 2x4 up my ass. And I was bothering people around me. 10 months. The day after Easter, on that Monday, found one of my brothers died of an overdose. That night, I went to the meeting. I know today that I went to do a meeting because I was afraid of how much I was going to drink, how much I was going to consume all kind of drugs to not feel what was going on. 40 years later, my family still don't talk about it. It's like if it didn't happen. It's crazy. But I was the oldest of the families. I was supposed to lead the way. So I went back there. When I got sober the second time around on the 23rd of October, 1983, I crossed paths with my father in the hallway of their house. And he looked at me and he said, I'm not impressed by your new life's choice because my mother told them that I had rejoined AA. For him, only the weak people go to AA. I found out really down the road, my father was an alcoholic. We don't know what happened in Florida, but when he came back, he didn't drink. And he did it on his own. He became a madman, became a crazy man, and untreated person. The amount of anger that this guy had was unbelievable against everybody and everyone. And I didn't want to be like him. It's really simple. So I had this relation of love-hate with my father pretty much all my life. When he died, I did a fourth step just about my relationship with him. I cleared my side of the fence. I took responsibility for what I did, what he did, and I had a clear path after that. As I was preparing for tonight, I like to read some literature before I'm invited to speak somewhere. And, you know, there's a book here called As Bill Sees It. Not many people use it. It's funny because it's always there on tables. And this is like my go-to Bible. Every time, like this afternoon, I said, okay, I need to talk about this anger because I played hockey for a reason. It was easy to drop the gloves and punch somebody's nose. They punched my nose too. The anger that I had was unbelievable. I'm always saying, I was raised Catholic. When they baptized me, it was not some holy water. It was the angry water they used because, man, it was running in my veins. It was incredible. And all my brothers. When people were going to school following me, my brothers and my sisters, when the teachers were finding out that they were one of my siblings, it was like a catastrophe that was coming because that's how I was. Got kicked out, I don't know how many times. So anger for me was leading to resentments, and I was having to contain it. This house where I was raised, you could not talk. When my father was in the house, people stopped breathing because if you were going sideways, doing anything, something was going to happen. Everybody was so frightened all the time. Anyway, on page 93 of this book, it talks about, I really like what it said about resentment. And the title is Walking Towards Serenity. By the way, I like those big, larger prints because when you get older like me, otherwise I don't see them. It's just simple. the whole page there is so much on point with the way that I felt with resentments. When I came to the program, I continued to contain this resentment all the time. I had all kind of resentments, and I was not talking about it. Never, because the way I was taught, if you're talking about your problems, you're a weak person. I'm always claiming that my father raised us to be lions in the sea of life, and you're supposed to be the predator, not the weak one. And it's incredible. It's incredible how these pages, sometimes depending on which day I'm going through, are a resume of a condensed version of what's going on, and also it tells me how I should feel about it. It's really interesting. Today, I have a family relationship with one of my brothers. I came to realize that also I don't have to stay in the madness of this family. And I have chose, as one of my brother, he's also in the program. He has 30 some years, and the two of us connect. We talk almost every other day, at least. And I keep my peace and serenity speaking with him instead of speaking with the other ones. I was raised in a very Catholic area. I never had any connection with the bearded guy on the cross. None. For me, they presented me with a higher power there that was a vengeance. You know, the eye of God is going to see everything you do, and you know that something is going to happen because he sees you. You know, it's incredible the way that they were presenting it. My mother was using it to make us afraid of what we were doing all the time. My father, by the way, was not really often at home. And I found out when I grew up a little bit older, it's because he had another family somewhere. So my mother was never feeling really well, and we were getting it, I'm telling you. When I came to the program, and I had to find myself a higher power in a way to be in constant contact with my higher power. It was a deliverance for me. It was okay. I finally found how I'm supposed to be with that. And I drive a lot. I'm in constant contact with my higher power. We're having a conversation together through the windshield. And I realized also that I didn't have to a third person to introduce me to my higher power. I can be in contact with him direct. I'm full of gratitude for the fact that the Alcoholics Anonymous exist. I hear all the time, I'm so happy that I have found that and so grateful that I found that in alcoholic. Really. I would have preferred to be normal, really, honestly. My wife is an army. She's one of those lame drinkers. She pours some glass, some wine in the glass, and she leaves some in there. Sacrilege. She's one of those. Her friends, I never see them drunk. It's a totally different world than where I came from. Wow, if you were coming to my bar and you were asking for Coca-Cola, we were putting the Coke away. We thought that you were an art. It's a different world where I'm coming from compared to the rest of the world. I would have preferred really to have a normal life, go to college, go to university. I had a dream when I was a kid to be an architect. But the way that I was living and with the anger that I had, you can't be an architect telling you if you're designing with the anger that I had, your building is going to look like a monstrosity. It's my frame of mind today is totally different. When I came back to AA, I decided also to have a normal life. I realized that I needed to have a normal life. I went to knock on the door of somebody who was starting a company and they needed some help there. And they didn't give me on a silver platter a big job, you know. I had to demonstrate that I was worthy of having this job. Um, I owned the company at one point, 30 years. I was there for 28 years. I retired for the first time. I was 52 years old. I worked, and our product was were coming from France. So when I moved to Seattle, I had an office here, one in Montreal, and one in Paris. I traveled so much during my sobriety time. We were taking customers from here, and I was taking them to visit the Champagne Cave underground and things like this. And they loved me because I was giving them my samplers, you know. So they always had more. I decided not to drink. I decided not to use drugs. What they do with their life is theirs. I respect that today. I see some people who are going, you know, I live downtown. I see them in the festivity these days. There's going to be some more on Monday, and I see them partying. I'm happy for that. You know, if the day after they are able to go to work normally and have a normal life and take care of their life and their families, this is wonderful. This is not the guy I was. I was a dangerous guy, really honestly. So I have a lot of gratitude. For me, the gratitude is about AA because there's a program for bozos like me who don't know what to do the way they're drinking, using drugs, and running their life. That's how I express my gratitude. It allowed me also to grow as a person. You know, with the background that I had, growing was a step by step. It's not because I had the flamboyant job that suddenly I became a better man. You know, people are saying, "You have any kids, Ben?" I said, "Not that I know about," because I was so selfish. There's no way I wanted to have kids. I didn't want them to be like me. I was afraid of that. I didn't know how to raise kids, you know, in a normal way. It's not the way I was raised. I had no idea. The book didn't come with it. So never had kids. I have a great life today. I have the life way above my expectations in many, many different ways. It's not always easy. You know, it's not because we're sober that suddenly the door of easy way opened up. The people that are normal out there, they have their hurdles. The difference with me is that most of them got the book on how to handle it, and I don't know where mine was. I have to learn it. There's still things that are happening in my life. 6 years ago, I was very fortunate. So you guys remember something that was called COVID. So the day of the great shutdown in Seattle, I had the opportunity with some other guys to start a meeting. So the day of the great shutdown in Seattle, we started the meeting. Because for me, going on my computer to have meetings, that doesn't work. For me, a computer is it's a work tool. It's not a recovery tool. And a lot of people that I knew, it was the same thing. We were lucky enough to have a priest who opened the door to his basement, and we were having speakeasy meetings there. Maximum of 30 people to start with. I remember how it was. Nobody knew at that point how this disease was, going. The germs were going from one person to the other. We just said, "Don't get it." So we're all wearing masks and disinfecting everything, but we were having meetings for 30 people. Then we went to 50. Then we went to 60. Then we went to 80. We're still going today. We have 2 meetings a week in that same room, and it's doing really well. But these people, I remember how I felt when people were saying, my friend is in the parking lot, just called me, but the door is locked. So we are allowed 30 people here for the benefit of our community. Cannot have 31, could not have 35. This is what the priest wanted to have. At some point, the archdiocese found out that he was still running masses upstairs. So we were shut down for a little period of time. And then we reopened. I'm very, very proud of this group because how did we expect to have meetings for the people that needed it? People were coming from so far away, Auburn and place like this. How did they hear that there was a meeting there? That still baffles me today. I don't know. For me, that's what makes me happy. I was the guy who was abusing the system. I was the guy who took from others all the time. And I shifted to be a better person who's trying to help others. And I'm not a perfect man, believe me. My wife would be telling you, but I'm a better person than I was. I feel it, and I'm proud not only of what I have achieved, from a work standpoint and things like this, but I'm proud of who I have become in my eyes. Because I remember one of the last morning before I came back to AA, I looked at myself in the mirror and there's a voice who was saying, I don't recognize you anymore, but I'm going to shave you anyway this morning. Because I couldn't really recognize the guy that I'd become. There was a lot of things going on around me back in those days. It's funny because I was looking at I wrote down all kind of pages, and I don't need to read them tonight. This is a tool. This is one of the tools that was given to me. This is beyond my wildest dreams. I had surgeries. I had cancers that I have beaten in the recent years. In the last year and a half, I became almost my wife's life support. And it's because I'm sober that I can really navigate through that and not be pissed off at the world because of what happened. And I'm part of her support for now, and we'll see what the future holds. But it's because I'm sober in the way that I'm thinking today. And I have my limitations. I had to learn where are my limitations in life. When it's like this afternoon, I just said, I'm going to be shopping. I needed to get out of the house. I know where, before the lid opens up, to open and the steam comes out. There's things that we say in life that you cannot take back. I have learned that. So I'm trying to be even and to be nice in life with the people around me. Thank you so much, Steve, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And you all have a wonderful rest of the 4th of July. By the way, I arrived in the United States at noon today, 30 years ago. The Americans are so good. They're all celebrating my arrival tonight.